Hi, my name is Eric Daw from OmniFit. If I could tell you, or even better, if I could show you an exercise that will help you maintain core stability and also train your whole posterior chain, which is your back, your glutes, your hamstrings, while also allowing you to maintain a stable position or a stable condition while you lift weights, would you be interested? Well, I would, which is why I'm going to show you this exercise. As I like to say, let's get into it. So you may be wondering, what is the exercise I'm going to show you? So, it's a hip hinge. And that may not be exciting to you, but I'll tell you why it's important. Number one, it puts you in the right position to exercise, particularly doing any sort of rowing exercises. If you notice a bent over row, you have to do a hip hinge, a good one, to be in the right position. Number two, if you do an exercise that works your posterior chain, like a kettlebell swing, you know that's one of my favorite exercises to work the posterior or back side of your body. To do a good one, you have to do a proper hip hinge. Also, it's a great core stability exercise by being able to hold your body in that position. It's really good for you. So let's actually do the exercise now. So let me first show you what a hip hinge is and actually what it isn't, which a lot of people confuse it to be. So if I take this stick, which actually I can put right in the small of my back and keeping the curve in my low back, taking my other hand and put it behind my neck, I should be able to bend forward, keeping my body in a good alignment, bending from my hips, and when I come up, I should feel the hamstrings and glutes back here doing most of the work. What you typically see with most people when they try a hip hinge is they bend from their knees, so the hip hinge is not really bending their hips, they're bending all the knees, which is a squat. So the main difference between a hip hinge and a squat is the squat, yes, bends from your hips and your knees, but the hip hinge focuses primarily on a hip movement. So I know what you're thinking. You're saying, what if I don't have a stick like this? Well, the first thing I would say, do you have a broom handle? So I know you're also thinking, what if I can't keep my hand back there? What do I do? Easy. Another way to know if you're doing the hip hinge right is if I put my stick down. Oh, didn't mean to make that much noise. If I put my stick down, can you keep your body in a hip hinge position and slide it down to your knees? If you notice from the side, I'm still able to keep the alignment from my hip to the top of my head. It should be a straight line, even though I'm sliding down, slightly bending my knees and bending my hip forward. What are some other options? Using my hands and put it in the front of my hips. So if I do a squat, which is not what I'm trying to do, you'll notice the space between my hips doesn't really get smaller. But if I do a hip hinge the right way, when I bend forward, I'm actually squeezing my body or squeezing my hands in that hip hinge formation. So you don't need a stick, but to know if you're doing it right, it's good to use either your hands sliding down your knees or putting your hands in the front of your hips and bending from your hips. So what do you think, folks? Do you use the hip hinge correctly based on what I showed today? If not, I would take a real hard look at this exercise, this video exercises that we did today. And I think it's vital, particularly for seniors, when it comes to working the back side of our body to do a great or really good hip hinge. It requires practice, but what else are we gonna do if we're not gonna do hip hinges, folks? On that note, folks, this is Eric Daw from OmniFit, and before we leave, as I like to say, I have a free Facebook group in the description. Please check it out. I would love if you could take part of it. On that note, take care.